Here we go again. Just barely missed closing everything up. Well, just keep an eye on it again. Weather cleared up for a little bit at least. The wind is supposed to pick back up it again at 8. And then tomorrow's supposed to be windy all day, especially later in the day. So we're gonna have to get an early start tomorrow, I think. And as much as I wanna stay at this spot, the weather just isn't right and we gotta get moving. So we'll probably start heading about 2 or 3 hours north. There's a few camp spots up there I found. Yeah, keep moving. Hoping I didn't get sick. There were a lot of kids at that dinosaur thing, and you know how they were a lot of coughing and touching things. And I did my best to sanitize my hand, but hoping I'm not getting sick. That drainage that I have that's going straight into my throat. Ugh, awful sore throat. Tonsils are swollen. Runny nose, that kind of thing. So, caught a cold maybe, I don't know. Hopefully I get over it pretty quick. That Wagyu steak though, pretty damn good. I mean, it just tastes like beef, but it's super tender. Very, very tender. And I overcooked it by a smidgen on accident because I thought I forgot something outside and then came back in and was like, oh shoot. But it was delicious. Just a very, very light pink in the center. I like a medium rare and I overcooked it just a hair, but it was freaking good, man. Pretty good. I gotta keep an eye on my fridge though. It's not as cold as it should be right now because the propane flame blew out. So I switched tanks and reset everything, but it's not as cold as it's not as cold as it should be. So if it doesn't, I'll check it again here another 2 or 3 hours. If it's not cold enough, then I'll turn on the AC power and let it run off that. I know for sure it runs really good off that. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Hopefully something is not broke. I did hear it light, I think, and the check light isn't on, so we should be good. But it just sucks, just those little things that I should have paid attention to it more. I need to make note of that to check it periodically throughout the day. So it's either that my propane tank, the second propane tank, is too low, so I switch it to the full one, or the wind blew out the flame. So I guess either is possible, but kind of sucks. I'm gonna have to double check all my groceries after because it got a little warm today. It stayed cool-ish in the fridge, but not as cold as it should be. And I realized something the other day. When I was at Lowe's and the gas station and a few other stores and just kind of got to talking to the locals. They asked, hey, where you headed? What you doing next? I tell them, well, I'm headed out to Jugs Hollow. Yep, that's right, Jugs Hollow. Well, I jumped on the GPS to see how to get there. It's called Jug Hollow, not plural. So now everybody just thinks I'm a pervert. Maybe that's all right. No, it's still like off and on windy. Not as bad. But I'm feeling so snacky right now. I'm supposed to be trying to lose weight, but so far I've had probably like 10 Oreo cookies with milk. I ate a snowball. And I'm still snacky. I had like a pretty decent sized dinner too, so I don't know what my deal is. What else have I had? Have I had anything else? I feel like I've had... Oh, yeah. I had half a cookie of like a chocolate chip cookie too. I don't like sweets very often. I'm not a big sugar guy. I don't really like having candy or sweets or anything, so I don't know what my deal is. Oh, I have popcorn. Okay, I'm going to show you how cool it is to have direct AC power, because this is just on all the time and connected to AC power. I'm at 90% right now. How I can just run my microwave. I don't have to have a generator and all that stuff. I have to go outside in the wind to start anything. So I got my popcorn. That's on. Can hit the popcorn button. Boom. AC power, and if we come down here, we could see how much it's using. It's using, wow, 1500 watts. Insane how much power that's using. So what this is telling us is that if I were to keep my microwave going at this rate, pulling 1500 watts for, it basically only lasts an hour. So uses a ton of power. Now granted, we're only using it for 2 minutes or so, but pulling 1500 watts from a 40 kilowatt battery, I mean, we've already dropped 1% just in the last couple seconds. So we started off at 90. Let's see what it goes all the way down to. All right, so our popcorn's done. Give it a good little shake. Get all that butter all over. Gotta grab a bowl too. Now we drop to 87%. So not too bad. Last night was rough. The winds picked up pretty bad again, and they pretty much didn't let up until maybe 1 in the morning. So we did not get very much sleep. The plan was to leave pretty early this morning, and I woke up at like 6 a.m. I was like, nah, I have not slept enough to get a good drive in today. So slept in for a few more hours, but now the wind is just as bad again. Maybe not as bad as yesterday, but it's definitely pretty high. So I think we're gonna hunker down here, because I started looking at weather at our next destination. And our next destination is just a one-night stop. But the problem is the entire drive there. And so the weather all the way up through the route to get there, plus the weather at the location, is just as bad weather. And as you guys have seen in a previous video, driving in high winds with this thing really sucks. You get rocked pretty hard. You lose a lot of power in the truck because you're just facing winds. Sometimes this would be a tailwind, so that could potentially help. But you got to be careful when you're driving with a rig this big, because like an 18-wheeler, they can tip over. So I think we're just gonna hunker down here, since the next spot is pretty bad too. I hate driving in the wind with this thing. It's just a battle the entire time. So I think we're just gonna hunker down. Now, one thing I am gonna do though is I'm gonna move our camper, which I don't want to do because we have such a good view, but I think we're just gonna do it so that I'm facing into the wind. So we're basically pointed this way. We're gonna go ahead and camp this way so that the wind is funneling over it, because it's at least slightly more aerodynamic that way. The hard part is the wind keeps shifting, but it does keep shifting from like that general area. So we'll go ahead and move camp today, get her all leveled again, deploy the jack stands again. I just have to do it when the wind isn't like super high, because the jack stands on this side are definitely getting worked out right now with the winds. So just need to make sure that while we're moving it, we're not tipping or anything. And it takes a lot of wind to tip this thing over, but for comfort's sake, you know, you don't want to be getting rocked and pushed around like crazy. So kind of sucks. It's such a beautiful lake, and the weather we only got good weather when we came here the first night, so that really sucks, but that's okay. It is what it is. We're gonna make do.
Mostly cloudy. Rain likely until midnight, but a chance of rain and snow after midnight.
Let me show you how level we are here. So that's the problem. We got to face this general direction because the wind keeps shifting from this to the span of about here. And we're much more aerodynamic going this way. And it's not going to flutter all of the little doors on top. And we're not going to rock side to side. It's a lot harder to rock this way. So we're going to do this. Check this out. We're pretty level. Boom and boom. But we're just not going to have quite as beautiful as an area when we step outside, but that's all right because we got beauty all around us. We got windows up front, on the sides, so we'll make this work, I think. Okay, so with the winds kind of coming here, I'm hoping that the camper will kind of block the winds, and I'm just taking out the little one today because the big one is such a pain in the rear. But you can kind of see how much of a pain in the butt this is. So you just kind of put it against the case here. This side's a little harder, but this side's just flimsy fabric, and it just hooks on with these little like tiny carabiners. So it makes it flimsy, makes it light, which is nice, but I don't know. I still think if you guys are in the market for portable solar, this is not a bad option if you're just the occasional camper and you're really concerned about weight. I'm obviously concerned about weight, but I do think that having like an actual frame to go around this would make the setup way easier. I know it would take up a little more space, but I know Harbor Freight has some, so maybe we'll look at that eventually. But anyway, so we got the cable plugged in for the solar panel here into our little extension cord. This one's going to remain blank since I'm not taking out the other one. And then this end is going to go into the truck. So make sure we give enough space there. And then you could see this little yellow guy here. If you're wondering what all this goop is, that's RTV. It's a gasket for vehicles. It's all I had at the time, but really you should use like a silicone. But RTV works just fine. I like it because you can peel it off and remove it. And there we go. So we're plugged in. We got one solar panel up. And it's faced up there. So we should probably get about 150 watts, 130 watts out of this guy. So shouldn't be too bad. Okay, so let's see what we're getting. So on the camper right now, with me moving it, we're getting about 110 watts. You are gonna get more with me facing the direction we were facing because the solar panels face this way. So now one solar panel is basically getting the brunt of the solar right now. But we're basically full, and I'm actually stealing 100 watts from here with the DC charger and putting it in here. So you're gonna notice that this says 235. 100 of that is coming from the solar panels on the roof, and then 135 of that is coming from the solar panel we just set up. So we'll be charging about 7 hours or so. So that's more than enough power than we can use. I may eventually end up picking up the extender for this because it's not crazy expensive, and maybe set that up here or maybe stack them. Because I only get about between 2.5 to 3.5 hours with just this running the air conditioner, and we're gonna start getting pretty hot, so maybe it might not be a bad idea to start running the AC at night, depending on where we go. So just some things that we're currently considering. Alrighty, did the same thing. Drop those down just enough where they're touching, help minimize the rocking, but you're never gonna believe what just happened. The wind shifted direction from this way now, so we're getting broadsided again. I think we're gonna leave it though because it keeps shifting like this. And if we're getting broadsided from here, this direction is significantly less than getting hit right from the side, just getting T-boned by that wind. So got the antenna up just a little bit, not a ton because I don't want it breaking my ladder. One thing you got to be worried about strapping stuff here is pulling away from here and damaging the material when it strips that out. That could be really bad. And most of the time it's just wood behind here. So. Oh, there goes Kirk checking out a bird. For any of those people watching that are bird lovers, don't worry. He just chases them around. He thinks he's playing more than anything. He's not a cold-blooded killer by any means. Look at him go. See? See, he's not even running full speed. He just wants to chase him around. Good, wear him out. We're gonna go ahead inside for a bit. Basically coming out an hour or so, there's a small break. And we come out during then, so just come out during the next one. Once again, it is windy as hell here, so we are just going to leave. I am very over this place. It is very beautiful. It's a wonderful lake, but the weather is not cooperating, and this wind is kicking up my allergies, something fierce. So I wanted to show you guys how I've resorted to doing my dishes. The reason why I got this collapsible sink is because my gray water tank in this camper is really small, and I can only do maybe 4 or 5 nights worth of dishes, and it fills up pretty quick. So with this, all my rinse water just gets collected in here, and then I dump it outside. I do make sure that I get my gray water tank to about 3/4 full. And that's because when I go to do my dump, it's important that you do black first and then gray, and you need some amount of gray to flush everything out. In other words, you're having to run a lot of water after. But this just makes it easy. Give it a good soap down, give it a good scrub, and then I rinse it. Easy enough. And then I'm just placing it on the table behind me to dry, and then I'll hand dry and put most of them away. I got lazy last night. I should have done this last night. That way I can make coffee this morning. But I got lazy. The wind just absolutely wears you out, man. It wears you very thin. Made me very grumpy as well, so I didn't feel like doing much of anything. And something here has my allergies absolutely in a knot. Yesterday, or the last couple days, it's been the left side of my face. Today, it's the right side of my face that is just absolutely clogged. All right, I've had the truck warming up. Now we're just gonna do our checks. Leg folded in, we're good. Kirk is in his little spot. Little thing is locked. He's got his blanket and his pillow. All caps are shut, windows are shut. Shut, 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 shut. Legs are up. This is locked. This is over it. Down. Got that wound up. Got the stairs off. Oh, if you guys are wondering why I take it off and then strap it down or put it inside, instead of just leaving it on and then letting it float on here and strapping it down, it's because the camper is going to do movement independent from the truck, and this is connected to the truck. So as we're driving off the dirt roads, the camper's teeter-tottering and going back and forth and moving around, and that's okay. You want some movement. But if it's strapped there, I risk ripping it off from here. So I don't want to do that. All right, so shut. Is this locked? Good, it's open. Need to turn off the propane. Off. And I'll lock this when we get into town. This is shut. Fold it in. Window. Door shut. Truck looks good on this side. All right. Just like that, we're ready to rock. All right, guys, I don't think we're gonna make it very far. This freaking wind almost toppled us over. That was pretty scary. I thought for sure I felt the front left wheel leave the ground. You can see all the dust. Well, maybe you can't on the phone, but there's a ton of dust flowing around. We're just getting our asses handed to us. I mean, look at the steering wheel. This is just to keep it straight. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's like you can hear it trying to rip my doors open. Every now and then you can even start to see daylight through the seams because it's pulling on the doors so hard. So I gotta cycle that off just so I can get up this hill. All that button does is turn off my overdrive, so in essence it shifts me down a gear. Okay, we're gonna slow down. Can you see all the dust going across the road here? I don't know if you can see all that dust. Man, these Wyoming winds are no freaking joke. The scary part is when an 18-wheeler passes by, because it's blowing us to the right, to our passenger side, extremely hard. And then when the semi passes, it sucks you left, and then they pass and it blows you right. It's pretty nerve-wracking. Watch this. That one wasn't as bad. He wasn't going quite as fast, which was nice. Good God. What did we do? Why did we leave? Look at that flag. So you can see how bad the wind is. I mean, the dust shows it too, but without a marker on video, it can be hard to judge other than just looking at my damn steering wheel. Gosh. Oh my God. There it is. I've waited a long time for this moment. My first bald eagle in the wild encounter. I've only ever seen them in the zoo and stuff. Freaking amazing. America. All right, we made it to our spot. Just got her level-ish, good enough for tonight. Saw wild bald eagles just up there. So I'm a little nervous to fly the drone because they're big and they might want to eat my drone or see it as a threat. Maybe it'll make good footage, I don't know. But right next to the river, definitely not as clear as the last few that we've seen, since it's direct. That was direct snow melt from the mountains. This has traveled along a lot of sand embankments and stuff, so you know, a little more muddy, but man, I bet you would make for some good fishing out here. This is a pretty nice area. So the Warren Bridges camp area, I think is what it's called. So this side is BLM land. And we got confused. We went to the other side where there's a campsite and there's a sign, but that's a fee. And the little thing that you put your fee in is all jacked up and messed up. So we were like, let's go to this side. And I'm glad we came here because this is nicer. I mean, that area was nice too, but you know, $10 with nowhere to put it and free, and nobody's here. There were a few people on the other one. So, you know, this is pretty nice. It's cold. We got some clouds making their way here. Some of the peaks in the distance have some snow on them, so it definitely got colder. It's also really cool. I think there's baby eagles somewhere. You can hear that like very stereotypical like baby eagle kind of noise. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the adults that are making that noise, but it's pretty cool. I'm actually really stoked about that. I've never seen them in the wild before, so that's pretty cool. But this is where we're at. So each site has 2 campsites. It's the Warren Bridge recreation area. So, yeah, this is nice. This is pretty sweet, and nobody's here. It's great, probably because it's freezing balls. The camera's not picking it up, but I could see my breath. It's gotten pretty cold. Which is good. It means we're gonna sleep good, because last night and the night before it got a little too warm. So yeah, these campsites look like they're fairly well maintained. There's some places to have a fire and cook. We didn't bring any wood. We really should have sourced our own stuff, but just more weight to carry at this point. So that's a pretty nice setup. And just like that, it's freaking snowing. Oh my God. We went from a warmer, windy climate to freaking snow. Look at Kirk. See how big those snowflakes are? They're pretty good size. That's pretty sweet. Nice. Hells yeah.